Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk About Ice Show. We're from Coffs Harbour and my name's Ben, and this is a show that talks about life after ice, that recovery is possible. And through that we have guest speakers that share their lived experiences, and that drug addiction can happen to anyone. So we would like to welcome you to tonight's show. Tonight's guest is Jaden, and I'll let you tell us a little bit about yourself, Jaden.
Hi, my name is Jaden Chown. I'm 23 from Maitland, New South Wales. I'm a resident at Adele House and also a New South Wales drug court client. I was in addiction for 5 years. Picked up when I was 18. And then, after a couple of years, it brought me to my knees. And I started getting into addiction, heavier. And before I knew it, I ended up in jail. And by the grips of God, I was lucky enough to get drug court instead of a custodial sentence.
Thanks for that, mate. We'll bring Jose in, and Jose's gonna give us some shout-outs.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose, and welcome to Let's Talk About Ice, live from Coffs Harbour. I know Jaden started already with his story, but before we go back, I just want to acknowledge some sponsors. First up, I want to thank EnviroForce and NAMC. Also want to acknowledge Patrick from Coffex, and also we are looking for positions. Filling some positions, and the positions we're looking to fill our events coordinator and admin assistant volunteer. And lastly, I also want to acknowledge, I want to acknowledge Major Andrew of the Salvation Army, who helped us set up the technical stuff today. And also this morning, I got an opportunity to speak at the View Club in Coffs Harbour, and I'm acknowledging that hopefully by middle of this year, they'll be partners with us in our efforts in the community, especially with regards to doing presentations at schools.
Okay, thanks, Jose. Now, look, we'll just back it up a bit, Jaden. You said you're from Maitland, and you're up here at the moment on drug court. Was that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And what's that involved?
That involves, it's a sort of like suspended sentence, but I have to, in rehab, I've got to give 3 urines a week, do volunteer work, and just go to court. Like in a couple of months, I'll be going back to Newcastle because the Hunter Drug Court doesn't allow their clients to stay up here in Coffs Harbour. So I'll be going to a boarding house in Newcastle. And I'll have to attend drug court twice a week, I think it is. And it's sort of just like a suspended sentence thing. Right. Yeah.
So, and just so the viewers know, that was a choice they gave you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you go to jail, was it?
Yeah, it was either 18 months in jail or drug court. And during my addiction, I was very suicidal, and when I was sitting in the dock and I saw my mum crying, because I've been refused bail, that pulled some strings in my heart. And jail, I just still want to go to jail, and I wanted to get out and do good for my family.
Right. And that, I think you made the right decision, mate.
Yeah.
But you have been to jail before, have you?
No, this was my first time. I only had to do 3 months because drug court closed over Christmas. But in those 3 months, it really opened my eyes, and like my father and my brother, they've all been to jail multiple times, and that's just no life that I want to live, Ben.
Yeah, and we talk about that generational thing, and how you stop that, that repeated, what your fathers did or your uncles or whatnot.
Yeah.
So you've been at Adele House for how long at the moment?
3 months on the 11th of this month.
And how are you finding it?
Yeah, it's good. It's a very good program. The workers are very supportive. Matt Miller and Sam and Jackson, they're a blessing in disguise, and they saved my life. Yep. And the boys there, they're really supportive. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big family.
Yeah, I notice every now and then they get a group of boys that they really they make a go of it, and I guess that's from the majority of them leading the way with a good intention. So, at the moment, you have got a good bunch of boys at the moment.
Yeah, we have. Like if anyone, at the rehab, if anyone's down or anything like that, we're there for them all. And like majority of us, we're there for recovery. And we won't let nothing get in front of that because we want recovery.
And that's good, and we see you guys coming into the church services on the Sunday as well, and it's quite powerful because even though you just don't come from here, you're up here at the moment, and you're very much part of the church community. So it's great seeing you guys up here. So how long have you been clean for at the moment, Jaden?
On the 27th of this month, it would mark 6 months for me.
Well done, mate. And that's, from an addict myself, anyone that can, if you're an addict, especially if you can say that, that's a big achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge achievement. You know what I mean? Like in the 5 years of addiction, I think the most clean time I had up was a day. You know what I mean? And that was just why I had to sleep. But 6 months, I'm over the moon about it.
Yeah, no, congratulations, mate, because I know myself, like you say, just one day is a big thing for an addict. So, but it's great to hear that you're going strong.
So going back to just get the closer and microphone.
Yeah.
I've had sorry guys, if the sound isn't that good, please send us a message, and hopefully we can fix the problem. There's one. I want to acknowledge a Facebook group, and it's called I Support Australia. If you're watching from home, or any one of you watching from home on the show tonight, I really hope and pray that this show will bring much hope to you, because not just the suffering addict, but more importantly, the families. And I've noticed that every time we share a story, I'm going to share a little testimony a little bit later on of mothers who are so appreciative when we share our story, because it gives them hope that their loved ones, their children, don't need to be an addict forever, that there's a hope post-ice addiction. Now, going back to your story, let's start again from the beginning. We had some technical difficulties. I'm hoping that's already fixed. You go back to when you started ice, using ice, and at what age and what happened? What caused you to pick up? Yeah.
Drugs were sort of all, like, it was around me all my life, you know what I mean? I was dead against ice, and then I got stabbed, and that sort of played with my mental health a fair bit, you know what I mean? And I lost a mate in a bike accident, and I sort of, around the time it was in front of me, and I thought, why not, you know what I mean? And I picked it up, and it was my worst mistake I ever did, you know what I mean?
How old were you, Jaden, when that happened?
I was 18. Yeah.
And this is so your mate's been stabbed?
No,
you were stabbed?
Yeah, I was stabbed.
Yep. And you lost a friend, did you?
Yeah, in a motorbike accident.
And so you've taken this opportunity to come up to take this drug. Had you heard about it, or how did you come about actually having that drug in front of you?
I was with a group of friends, and they were addicts, and I just I said to them, let me have a try of that. And then, I was hooked from that day.
Yeah, and it's quite an addictive drug, and it just takes that one time, and that's what we bang home every time is not even once, because you have that feeling, and then you keep chasing it, and it's one of those things that we're quite fortunate to be up here talking about it, because not everyone gets away from it.
So go back to that night when you picked up. What was going through your head?
I just thought that, like, why not? You know what I mean? Like,
you smoked it?
Yeah, I smoked it. And then, just that night, obviously, led into a couple of days. And then, because after I got stabbed, my mental health played with me a lot, and I didn't leave the house for 2 years, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I just stayed in a room playing video games. But, like, so once I smoked it, it was more of a social thing, you know what I mean? Like, I'd go hang around with the boys and we'd smoke ice, like, and then I guess that was my way of socialising with them, which was completely the opposite of what I should have been doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's actually quite a unique case, how you first started.
Yeah.
You were stabbed, and then that affected your confidence in going out. And
Yeah.
There's in Australian Anti-Ice Campaign, we do a course, right? And it's a dual diagnosis
Yep.
course, and it's not uncommon to find you have going through depression at the same time, and
Yeah.
then that's when the precipitated you're
Yeah.
using. So you're 18 years of age, and what happened after that? Well, you got a taste of the drug.
Yeah.
So what happens? What happened to life after that?
Life just become I ended up being completely broken, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and obviously my habit was getting bigger and bigger to support, so I turned to crime, and then so on, and then I ended up I was really suicidal. I tried suicide twice,
Mhm.
and thank God it didn't actually work. I ruined a lot of friendships. I ruined my bond with my mum, my bond with my dad, with my brother. I sort of, I just went me against the world, sort of, you know what I mean? And that was the hardest thing, like when I went into custody, you know what I mean? I was getting clean, and I was realising about everything I've done in the last 5 years, you know what I mean? And
We'll get to the part about custody.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that came a point where you couldn't afford it, that it got expensive. At
Yeah.
what point and how much was that? What was that in dollar terms?
that was for up to $1,000 a day.
$1,000 a day.
Yeah.
And you were not working. You weren't
No,
unemployed.
I was on Centrelink.
So how can I know what your
Yeah.
answer is going to be because I was in that journey and Ben was in that journey, right? So how did you afford it?
I ended up selling it because like I had mates going out doing breaking enters, and that I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like I guess I didn't have the balls to go and do breaking enters. I'd rather just go and get an ounce and start selling it, and that's when my habit become blown out of proportion.
There are a lot of people watching this tonight, and welcome to a show. It is a very interesting concept of a drug dealer using a product. It never works.
Yeah.
It never works. So what happened? What happens?
I've become, I've become heartless. Like I was selling it to my family. I was making money off my family, making money off my friends, and my habit went up to, nearly like most days I'd smoke up to an 8 ball or a quarter a day. So it just become even more expensive. And then it brought me lots of things. You know what I mean? It brought me unwanted attention with the police, and just the cycle that you're in when you're selling drugs. It's nothing. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. You know what I mean?
I'm just interested. You talked about how you start doing things that you normally wouldn't do, and your morals. How you're selling it to family members. Did that contribute to you getting to those suicidal thoughts? Were you just thinking to yourself, what have I become and who am I right now?
They're exactly the thoughts I was having. You know what I mean? Like I thought if I could sell it to my family, and then sorry for my language, but I thought what a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Instead of bettering myself, I would just keep doing it to block the pain, and the pain just became more real and real and real. You know what I mean?
If you just joined us, our guest tonight is Jaden. Jaden is currently at a treatment centre in Coffs Harbour, and he's in a Dale house. But also he's a New South Wales drug court client. And what that means is that he got in trouble with the law, and instead of spending time in prison, he's part of a drug court program. And in his case, they sent him to a Dale house in Coffs Harbour. That sounds right?
That's correct.
Now, let's talk about family relationship. You said that you've destroyed your relationship with your mum, your dad, and your brother. I think your mum is watching tonight, so please say hello to
Hey, Mum.
to your
And
mum.
my mum and dad also are watching, and,
Okay.
and my auntie as well.
Okay, so how was that? How was that destroyed?
Me and my brother, growing up, it was me and him against the world. You know what I mean? And certain things, my loyalty towards him, I stopped being loyal towards him. I just gave up on him, you know what I mean? Because I didn't want to hurt him any more than what I already hurt him. And I'm glad that I didn't lose the bond fully with him. They still want me in their life. They love me and they miss me. And I miss and love them as well. So I'm glad that I didn't fully, destroy our bond.
So it would be fair to say, had you kept going down the road you were going down, then it would have got to a point where they'd have to cut you off and say, look, you know, Jaden, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, eventually they would have had to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can, that same thing happened with my family. But so you've got loving parents, and let's just go back to your childhood. How was your childhood growing up in? Did you grow up in Maitland?
Yeah, I grew up in Rutherford, a little town outside of Maitland. Dad was in and out of jail. I don't blame him for it. You know what I mean? Like, I believe my dad being in and out of jail is where I got my respect and my morals about life. Mum done the best she could, being a single mother. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a bad childhood, but it wasn't a good childhood. But none of those actions from my childhood led up to me using ice. It was my own decision and my own choice. Yeah.
And did you? So you didn't try it till 18. What about those years before? Did you experiment with alcohol or dope, marijuana at all?
I smoked. Well, with dope, I would always green out on it, so that wasn't my drug of choice. I've never been drunk to have a hangover. I don't like alcohol. Right? Yeah.
So you sort of, it was one of those situations where you've gone from virtually not using anything, to you picking up. Yeah, right.
Jaden, your aunt Marie.
Mary
Ann says hello, and Will Smith. Next time you come in Coffs Harbour, you will definitely be on the show. Just message me. Now you mentioned about. I'm glad you mentioned that. You know, I didn't have a good job. It wasn't a bad childhood.
Yeah.
And the same way, I had a single mum. You know, and I had four siblings. But it was never the reason why I picked up. I picked up because it was a choice. I made a decision to pick up. It doesn't matter what circumstances life threw at me. I picked up, and it was a choice. Same. You've been. We're going to talk more about the relationship with the family, with your mother, and what you expect in the future. Because in addiction, they experience the worst of us.
Yeah.
And the message of hope is this: that as you recover, the purpose of that is the litmus test how well you are in recovery is whether or not your family is experiencing the best of you today, right? And that's what it is. So anyway, let's fast forward a little bit, and let's talk about a time. How did you get in trouble?
I was driving while disqualified, and the police were looking for me for a previous police pursuit, and they actually come across me in the car that they were looking for, and the police was initiated, and they got me for that, and I was on bail for a police pursuit and driving dangerously, and then the night before sentencing, I got pulled over in a car, and I had ice on me, and housebreaking implements. And they arrested me for that, took me to court. And because it was my first time in custody, I didn't know that the screws search you when you go into the courthouse. And they found $0.5 gram on me. So the judge wasn't too happy with being found in the court cells. And it was pretty much either drug court or 18 months in jail.
Wow, so this is all like a first for you.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm actually, in a sense, it's good to hear this is your first time that you went into prison, because if this happens second or third time, it gets harder and harder to be able to turn your life around. And I was in active addiction for 13 years, simply because I've been to that jail, prison thing many times. And if it's your first time, then that culture hasn't deeply entrenched in you. Yeah. So and that's good. So maybe
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, it was my first time in jail, but like growing up, like Dad had been going to jail since the early '90s. You know what I mean? So like I've been visiting Dad since I was 3 or 4 in jail, and then my brother here, unfortunately, he started going to jail at quite a young age, and he's still in addiction now actually, and he's been in and out of jail. Like, so growing up, I didn't want to be doing it, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to be the one in and out of jail. I wanted to, break the cycle of, generation after generation. But unfortunately, well, I'm blessed that it was only my first time, and it was an eye opener for me. And yeah,
Going to prison is a metaphor for, it's almost a metaphor for using, because what drugs does to us, it isolates us,
yeah,
right? And think about a time when you first got arrested, you go into the police station, and what's the first thing the police do is they put you in a dock,
Yeah.
right? In this little cell
Yeah.
that you can't move. I can't move and I'm small.
Yeah.
What about you? How
Yeah.
big you are? And you're standing on this metal
Yeah.
chair and you keep sliding
Yeah.
and you can't move. When you get to prison, they isolate you. They move,
Yeah.
they keep you away from your friends.
yeah,
There were times in prison when I experienced segro, and that's the most unnatural thing for
Yeah.
human beings, yet we put ourselves in that, in our
Yeah.
drug use. We isolate ourselves.
yeah. Like during obviously being going into custody during COVID, I had to enter the 14 days quarantine, and I think that was one of the like jail saved my life. You know what I mean? Going to jail and then seeing what it's like, and like it's just no life. You know what I mean? And doing the quarantine where you're locked down 23 hours and let out an hour a day.
Mhm.
That was the most horrid time of my life.
I think, from what I've seen with you, Jade, that there is a chance of you. You don't seem to have that attitude or that mentality that a lot of them get from, hardened men, like done many years in jails and that. So, and also, the fact that you're quite willing, you're part of this church community, and you're part of this forum we're doing right now. So, I think there is a good chance for you to go on. So you're on the right track, mate. And I take my hat off to you for that. What do you think has helped you this far, like in program? What do you think, being part of the NA programs, and like you say, you mentioned some names out at Adele, they've helped you out and that?
Yeah.
And
NA helps a lot, but also Major Andrew baptising me.
Mhm.
That was one of my highlights of my recovery, and also my main thing is I just don't want to let my family down. You know what I mean? Like I want to eventually get a job and provide mum with and dad with everything they need. You know what I mean? Like I want to put a smile on their face and prove to them that I can actually do it and not just go back in and out of jail all my life.
What did you want to do? What were your dreams as a child? What
I wanted to grow up, and I don't want to be rich. I just want to be happy. You know what I mean? Like, so whatever job pays the bills.
did you have like an aspiration? Some people want, I want to become a football player, or I want to be a doctor. And what did
I just
did
wanted
you
an
have?
easygoing life.
Easygoing. You're
Yeah.
very easygoing life, and
Yeah.
I can picture that.
Yeah. And I just want to own my own home, and just make sure my mum and dad are right until it's their time. You know what I mean?
You should embrace this opportunity to be in recovery at your age.
Yeah.
Some of us arrive in recovery quite late in life.
Yeah.
But we're making the best out of it, and
Yeah.
certainly life gets better. You were blessed, and I call it a blessing, or for a luck. I call it. I'm going to put it out there. I call it God's grace, and simply because for my addiction, I was there for 13 years. Yet I have many friends that were using, and no one led me to a life of free from drugs.
Yeah.
And the same as you, would you have been in your imaginings? Would you ever think that one day you'd be in Coffs Harbour talking about ICE
No way in the
or
world.
being in drug court? So
way in
something
the world.
happened that led you
Yeah.
to the drug court program and planted the seeds of
Yeah.
recovery in your head. So
Yeah. I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason. You know what I mean? Like before I come here, I didn't believe in God, but once I started hearing higher power and that, and then I started coming to church, I just connected the dots. You know what I mean? And I thought, well, obviously, God, He saw me broken in that dock that day when the judge said to me, "I'm going to give you the chance at drug court."
wow.
And I think He was the reason I said yes, and here I am today. But nowhere in the world. 6 months ago, if you asked me where would I be in 6 months, I would not think I'd be in recovery in Adele at Coffs Harbour.
Just for our viewers, we're going to go back now, and we're going to talk more about your life in addiction.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to that time you first tried it. Okay, and you've had a bit of a binge on it then. Then what happened with your use after that?
Um, it just took off from that day really, and then relationships, like I got a girlfriend, and things didn't work out. You know what I mean? I was heavy in addiction, and only cared about myself. So I treated her like badly, and no one's going to stay around getting treated badly.
Mm-hmm.
And in addiction, I couldn't see that. So I just thought it was her, just breaking my heart, and that caused a lot of pain in my life. So I, smoked a lot more drugs to try and numb the pain, but it would never numb it. So I'd just smoke and smoke and smoke. Yeah.
One of the most difficult decisions I have to go through in life is to decide that I need rehab and I need to stay in rehab. And it was easy for me because my family cut me off and I had no connection with the outside world and I had to focus on rehab. But you've had, in the last 4 months, had a rocky journey. You've experienced two close or family members who have passed away.
Yeah. I've had two really close friends pass away. One of them, he took his own life last month.
Oh, sorry.
Which was very sad. And unfortunately, because of drug court, I wasn't allowed to attend their funerals. I actually attended them over Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of played on my mind very heavy. But, I'm here to, get recovery, and I'll go and see their graves, when I get back home.
How old was your friend?
He was only 19.
Wow.
And was it drug related?
No.
No.
He just had depression and, yeah.
But,
Wow.
I experienced it myself. A friend of mine, he committed suicide at a young age, and you were talking about these suicidal thoughts you had. And people that do actually commit suicide, it's the actual act of it is quite, confronting, but there's also a lead up to it. And can you tell us a little bit about, what it done to you and what was going on in your head at that time?
I just thought that life wasn't going to get better, and I was in a lot of pain, and I tried committing suicide, and I'm very lucky that it didn't work. You know what I mean? It was a lot of I would isolate, and I'd just use drugs, and I wouldn't have no one to talk to. You know what I mean? So I had a lot of things going on in my head, and I'm just glad that it didn't actually happen.
I'm. Can you just there are people watching us tonight who are also in drug rehab, and also they experience loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for them, based on your experience? 'Cause it must have been difficult. Like as an addict, I've lost many family members, and I never got to their funeral. And some of them I never knew that they passed away simply because I was isolating myself. You had this opportunity in rehab, and although you experienced 2 deaths, how did you handle that being in rehab?
I'm very lucky in the rehab facility I'm in. I've got a lovely caseworker, Helen. She's lovely, and I've got Sam, and I've also got he's like my brother Jesse, and I've got another brother in there, Joey. I can talk to them about anything, and Jesse, he goes through everything with me. You know what I mean? We come from jail together. We're from the same area. We both want what's best for us, and he's also one of the main reasons why I haven't left rehab or anything like that. You know what I mean? Because he wants to see me do good, and I want him to do good. So I just advise, you know what I mean, to just talk to someone. You know what I mean? Talk to someone about your problems. And there's someone there that always, you know what I mean.
And in your case, it's friends out at the Adele house. But those of you that are listening today, there'll be numbers that we're putting up on throughout the show. So contact those numbers, speak to people, speak to your GP, because that's first-hand advice for someone who has been through that, those suicidal thoughts and those tensions.
Yeah.
So seek that help. I guess that's the message here, isn't it, Jaden?
Yeah, definitely ain't weak to speak. Don't ever think it's weak, and speak to someone as soon as possible.
The last couple of days, we're friends on Facebook, and I've seen you put up some stuff in Facebook, and you've been in a rocky place. Can you tell us what that's about?
Yeah, I was excited for weekend leave back to my mum's in Rutherford, And the Hunter Drug Court or corrections, they actually they didn't approve my mum's address. And with my caseworker, we had a plan that she wanted me to do 2 weekend leaves, and then I would get an exit date.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, with my mum's address not getting approved, I can't do the weekend leaves. And then this feels like, you know what I mean? I'm 6 months clean. I've been doing so much. I've been doing everything the rehab asked me and everything the drug courts asked me. And then it's just sort of like a spit in the face, you know what I mean? But
How did that make you feel?
it made me feel I wanted to leave.
Yeah.
But in God's will, things will pan out for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you actually said that yourself. Things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
So, you know, it obviously wasn't
Yeah.
your time to go
Yeah.
down there then and there.
Yeah.
If you're watching from home and your family and Jaden just explained, the last couple of days has been a rough place, and the reason is like he thought he'd get an address approved by drug court so he can spend a weekend with his mum, his family, and eventually be released to that address.
Yeah.
And at the moment, that's not happening. So if you have any advice to Jaden, please shoot us a note. From my point of view, and you know, I did my recovery, and I did my recovery alone. It wasn't dependent on family
Yeah.
or where I'm going, you know, and
Yeah.
I did it blindly, and I had no idea how my life was going to pan
Yeah.
out because I did not have a family. My family
Yeah.
had nothing to do with me. They're a big part of my life today, but
Yeah.
when I was in rehab, they had nothing to do with me. So for you is that I had a plan, and that's to stay in recovery.
Yeah.
And nothing had actually changed. The fact that I have address or no address, nothing's in fact changed. So, but things are there for a
Yeah.
reason. You just don't know what happens around the corner,
Yeah.
you know. And
Yeah, the first night I actually met you, Jose, when you shared about, you know, you were how old and you were at the plane
Yeah.
or whatever it is, and you had a bag of clothes. Your story actually really inspired me, you know what I mean? I think I told nearly everyone at the rehab when I got back there. And then when Luke said, "Oh, he's my sponsor," I thought, "Oh yeah," and then that's when I asked you to be my sponsor. You know what I mean? 'Cause your story inspires me, and it keeps me going.
and you know, like I said, your mother is watching family. You have a lot of aunts here, relatives watching the show,
Yeah.
the show tonight. You know, they will get to experience the best of
Yeah.
you. And I did a course recently, and the person facilitating the course said that love has a speed, and it's slower than you think.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that because recovery is about self-love.
Yeah.
And self-love is we have to do it slowly, and we don't rush things.
Yeah.
And as a result, that becomes, you know, it results in something a lot more beautiful
Yeah.
than we rush. So, you know, there's a lot worse places to
Yeah,
be.
yeah. Well, at the end of the day, you know what I mean? They could have kept me in custody, you know, because I've still been in jail, but I'll look at it as a plus thing. Like Adele House, it's a really good facility. It's a $14 million facility, you know. We've got it, sometimes I think we've got it too good there, you know what I mean? Because the staff are, you know, they're brilliant, and yeah.
So anyone who's looking at drug court for that decision, they should opt for the rehab. You would suggest.
Yeah. If they're fair, like, you know, if they're 100% that recovery is what they want, you know, and I would suggest them, to get into Adele or get into drug court.
It's actually a good point. You know, you've got to want this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not only wasting your own time, you know what I mean? You're wasting, like, the way I look at it, is you're wasting a bed that someone could really be using, you know what I mean? There's addicts out there dying to get into rehab.
I'm glad you actually realized that too, because there are a lot of people who have a desire to get clean, and they can't get a bed.
Yeah.
And some people you see that they come 2, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and nothing has changed.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that they don't have desire to stop using,
Yeah.
but at some point the penny's got to drop and said, I'm occupying the bed on behalf of someone who could get clean.
Yeah, like we've had like in the last week or two, we've actually had like drug use and people using alcohol in the rehab. And I think it's just, you know, it's really selfish of the person who's actually taken up the bed and using drugs. Like, if you want to use drugs, like, go home and do it, and give the bed to someone who actually needs it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's a good point. So, because you know, you obviously sound like you've lost too much from this terrible addiction. You know, you spoke about your relationship that you lost,
Yeah.
and then you almost losing your family. And what else did your self worth?
Yeah, I lost like I lost my morals. Um, I lost like a lot of things. Like I treated my friends who actually cared about me. I treated them like shit. You know what I mean? And I done a lot of shit goes by a lot of people. But that's just I was in addiction. You know what I mean? When you're in addiction, you have no morals and self-respect.
Yeah, at this point, you're going to excuse me for 5 seconds. I'm going to go to do technical stuff, and you just continue on. I'm going to play video.
Yeah, and it's like I said earlier, Jaden, and I hope your family are hearing this, but what we've seen of you in the last 3 months, how much you're putting into being part of it and wanting to make something of this, make a go of it. And I was mentioning to you earlier, I'm 41 years old, and if you keep going down the track you're going down, you would have looked back at my age and said, "That bloke's right. He was right. He, should have pulled his head in." It's just, it's fortunate you're only 23 years old, and although some of your charges could have got you in jail, it's not. You're not too far gone by a long shot. There's still a bright future ahead of you, and you can see that, can't you?
Yeah. A lot of people, like a lot of the older boys at the rehab, they say to me, and the boys at NA, they say, like, if you can get it while you're young, get it, you know what I mean? And I hope I do get it. Like, I think I've got it. And I just hope it all pans out for me.
Yeah, and then if you do get it, hold on to it, mate, and cherish that, because like I say, it's it's a matter of life or death. This sort of stuff. So, and then from there you can go on and spread that message to someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, you're part of this show tonight, and you're going to be helping other people. So, I hope a lot of people are able to.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to watch a film clip from the Meth Project. So we'll watch that, and then we'll comment on that after.
Hey, what about me?
Hey, what about you?
Oh, come on.
Give her some.
Yeah, give me some.
All right. You want meth, kid? Here's your meth. And here's your meth dealer. And your meth boyfriends. And your meth baby. And don't forget your meth face. You sure?
Yeah, just go. Okay, now, blow it out. Blow.
You did it, kid.
You're in. You're one of us now.
You did it.
All this is yours.
We're gonna be shooting up together.
We're gonna steal together.
Sleeping together, too.
Sleep together. You are gonna love every single minute.
No! I'm trying it just this once.
Come on.
Wish I'd taken that shortcut through that empty parking lot. Wish I'd gotten jumped. I wish they broke.
No, we didn't actually get to see that, so unfortunately we were unable to comment on that. So we're going to talk about the turning point. You said you're in the docks, and a lot of what made you decide to change your attitude was your mother. Seen her.
Yeah. When I got brought out, my mum and my stepbrother was sitting in the courthouse, and when the judge goes, refuse bail, and I was walking out, my mum started crying, and for those who know me, I'm a really big mummy's boy, you know what I mean? Like, I love my mum to death, I'd do anything for her.
Nothing wrong with that, mate.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? But that broke my heart, and that's something I never want to experience again.
Yeah, and then for a mother to see that, you can only imagine, the heartbreak, because his son's going off to jail, and they'd be worried, what's going to happen to my son here.
Yeah.
So that made you sort of, I've got to do something about my life.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely made me, And then that night when I actually got to the jail, I thought this isn't no life that I don't want to live this life. And it was actually I was in jail over Christmas, and I rang Mum up on Christmas Day, I think, and I was in the detox at Silverwater, and she broke down crying, and I said like Merry Christmas, Mum, and she goes, it's no Christmas without you here, you know what I mean? And that just shattered me. Like I don't want to go through that again.
And of course, being in jail, you can't do anything, can you?
Yeah, no, I'll just do head miles in my cell, I guess.
And so you've been in contact with your mother since you've been up here, and she's happy with the way things are.
Yeah, she's over the moon. Yeah, my mum and my dad, my whole family, you know what I mean? They're wrapped for me.
Yeah, that's good. So you'll be able to go back and rekindle those relationships back at home.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's to be able to say that because unfortunately, not everyone can do that sort of thing. I know with my mother, she never turned her back on me.
Yeah.
But it did get to a point where she was having to start to push me away. But like you say, you start to question who you are. What have I become? And this isn't who I am. And even though your usage was only like for a short period of time, you would have experienced going from that person that you once were into someone you probably looked in the mirror and thinking, who is this?
Yeah, exactly right. I didn't know who I was myself, you know what I mean? I was a broken boy.
Yep.
And I thank the Lord that my mum and my family, they didn't give up on me, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So what's you've got a bit of time in this program still out at Adele House at the moment?
Yeah, well, hopefully I'm 90 days on the 11th for this month, and I'll have to start doing some volunteer work, and hopefully that gets me for drug court I got to do 21 hours of volunteer work, and Matt Miller, he wants me to get a connection for volunteer work up in Newcastle before I leave because he just doesn't want me to send me back to Newcastle with nothing like that, and I've got to do it myself.
Right. And who's the volunteer work with?
The Salvos.
Oh yeah, so you've already been part of the church up here with the Salvation Army, so that's good. So the future for Jaden, what's that looking like? Once you get back home and that.
Yeah, it's looking drug free, and when I finish up with drug court, I want to get a job and just live a normal life.
Can I just ask you, like honestly, do you worry about urges of the drug? You know what it feels like. Do you get worried that I might get in a situation where it's in front of me and I know what it feels like. I want to do it.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like I still I miss the drug, but I don't miss what it does to me.
Yep.
And I know it. Like I've got it drummed into myself that if I use again, and there's no ifs or buts, I'm going to jail. Yep. And I would rather get the urges and not use, and not see my mum cry, than to use and see my mum cry.
I think a lot of it's to do with putting yourself in position where it is available.
Yeah.
So does that mean you might have to cut ties with certain people?
Yeah. Well, I believe that if anyone has respect for me, they won't bring it out in front of me. And if they do, then I will have to cut ties with them.
It's once again talking about drug addicts with morals. It's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of people who do have addictions, they want to be an addict with other people, so they don't feel so bad about their usage.
Yeah.
So, I found with me, I had to keep certain people out of my life just to keep away. But like I say, I know what it feels like also, and that's why I asked you this question, because I'm sure there's people out there that they're probably wondering about these questions. Do these blokes still have urges for it? Do they know what and it's something that needs to be talked about, I guess. I don't put myself in those positions anymore. and if it looks like it's going down that path, I'll try and steer clear because I'm an ice addict, and it's difficult for myself. So the best thing I can do is to try and keep away from it.
Yeah.
You know, and then I imagine you yourself.
Yeah. From what I've gathered so far in my recovery, you know what I mean, and from like the older people with most clean time up, I think it's just about getting yourself into the NA or AA community. You know what I mean, and just involving yourself around cleaner members, and just doing things with them. I get urges every day. You know what I mean, but I just try and do as many meetings as I can, and yeah.
Yeah, and we know the outcome. We know the wreckage of it. You know, it's not worth it to us.
Yeah.
And like I say, I had like 20 years of drug use. I mean, you're only young, so I really hope and pray that this is something that you go on with, mate, because you're a young bloke and you're a likeable character, and you're not afraid to come on here and have a go and share your experience with other people, because that's what it's all about. Hoping other people can look at this and say, okay, I can relate to that, and they can go forward and get that help that they need.
Just we have some technical issues all night, and we weren't able to play our introduction video. And halfway through, we're meant to play some clips from the meth project, and see how that resonates in our journey. Unfortunately, some technical difficulties weren't able to play that. I've just posted 1-800 number, which is 1-800-NO-TO-ICE, or 1-800-668-6423. If you have family or loved ones or friends who are struggling with ice addiction, please call our support line. That's 1-800-668-6423, and it's not flashing on the screen, but it's on the comment box. We also have a family support line, and that's 0481 844 555. And our head office number is 075-665-6063. It is now coming up in the comment section. It is not on the screen as I expected it, because we have a technical problem. And we are looking for some volunteers. And if you're interested, please email us at, and this is our email address, and it's up there as well. And it's volunteering@australianiantiicecampaign.org.au. I can see it's flashing up there on the screen, but it is not flashing on the actual Facebook page. So we apologize for that, and hopefully we can remedy that next month. Next month, I think I will be focused on the technical side and stuff. And what I plan to do is we'll get Jaden up here to host with Ben next month's show. So anyway, sorry to interrupt. Let's go back to business.
Yeah.
We've got 10 minutes left.
No, we've got 12 minutes.
12 minutes. But it's despite all the technical difficulties, we're a couple of blokes that are just trying to get that message out there that people, if they need that help, search it out, because the sooner they do that, the better. It's not worth it, the life of addiction. It's like you say, it's good for a fleeting moment.
Yeah.
But then all the carnage after, and all the hurt and pain, and the broken relationships, and that's the message we're trying to bang home, isn't it, Jaden?
Yeah. If I just want to say to anyone out there, if you're serious about you want to get off the drugs, get into detox and ring up a treatment centre. It's worth it. And during addiction, I could not remember one day where I was happy. You know what I mean? And it's actually funny because the workers at the rehab, because I'm always walking around, I'm happy going guy now. You know what I mean? I've got life back on my terms. And they're saying, what's with the smile? What's with the smile? And I said to them today, I'm just happy to, I'm happy to be here in rehab. I'm happy to not, be battling addiction. You know what I mean? It feels good. So if you're serious about it, get yourself in the rehab.
Yeah. And of course, it's not something that happens overnight.
No way.
It is a process. I mean, you're at a point where you're walking around smiling. That's great to hear. For me, myself, it's 6 months. The first 6 months when I stopped, but it was completely change of lifestyle for me. I come down to my mother's, and I did suffer from the depression.
Yeah.
Not only was my body coming, detoxing, but also my mind. And your head, it takes a lot longer than the actual physical side of things.
Yeah.
So, for me, I did suffer the first 6 months. I went and spoke to my GP about that. And, he prescribed me an antidepressant that I take at night. So that helped me. And the reason I'm telling this story is because that's what you might need to do. You can vouch for it. It's not easy, but it is a process. But it is worth it when you can get to a point and say, I did overcome that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's totally worth it. Like you said, I saw the local doctor at the rehab, and I'm also on antidepressant sleepers for night.
Yep.
And like that could also be a big role why I'm happy. But yeah, like it's 100% worth it. I wish I could reach out and help my friends and family that are still in addiction. You know what I mean? Like I wish I could just pull them in the rehab with me, but I can't. And I know in God's will that their day will come to get clean.
That's right. The biggest testimony is not what we say to them coming to rehab.
Yeah.
It is how they see our life change and how we live our life. And that's when they say, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He must be doing something right because he's not the same person that he was. Now, do you speak to your family?
Yeah, I do.
How often?
I speak to my mum every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I speak to my dad probably 3 or 4 times a week.
Wonderful. There's Lachlan and Thomas, and they send their love to you.
Yeah, and they're my cousins.
They're your cousins.
Yeah.
They're your cousins. There's Gigi King.
Yeah, she's a really good friend.
Yeah.
She's also in recovery. She's seen how far I've come. She's seen me at my worst.
Yes.
And I spoke to her the other day, and she was saying how proud of me she was. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Look, I'm not under any illusion that recovery is easy. It is very difficult. But whatever happens, it doesn't matter what life throws at you. Whatever happens, just don't pick up.
Yeah, not even once.
Not even once. And what's your message out there before we get? What's your message out there to people who are thinking of using these drugs, or people who are playing it in the periphery, or the ones that are currently heavily into addictions?
The ones who are thinking about it, don't do it. Whatever you do, it's not worth it. It's not worth the misery you'll put yourself and your family through. The ones in addiction, if I can do it, I think anyone can do it. And get clean and get into a rehab.
Yeah, that's a good message, mate. If you can't make it into the rehab, I would suggest go and speak to your GP. If you've got loved ones, people that you can trust, go and talk with them. Because we understand that people have got, lives. There's a lot of single mothers out there, and for them to stop using, they've got a child with them. So that's another thing that's a big obstacle. So but sort out people that you trust. Go to the doctor, speak to them, and contact these numbers that we've put up on our screen, because there is help out there. But that's the message I want to give you. The sooner you do that, the better. I know it's difficult. It really is, and it is. Some days are better than others, but just go and talk to someone about it, and make those first steps to a better life, and start living that life. Free from the restraints from this drug and what it does to you in life.
So first step is get clean. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and it's a wonderful opportunity for someone like you to be able to share your story, and your family. Well, watching, you still have another 5 minutes, and I hope you're still here next month and you get to host the show. And you can see how people change. You have another 5 minutes. I'm going to go up there to close off from the technical side. Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you,
you and Ben will have the last 5 minutes to explore this topic a little bit more as you close the program. Thank you.
Thanks, Jose. But what I can say for you, Jaden, and I know you got family out there, so you do have that love and support, and that's probably the most support we've seen for one of the boys up here.
Yeah.
But what I want to say, and I hope your family hear this, you're one of these people that I think has got a fighting chance. And I'll go one step further. This experience that you've had is going to help you grow, and it's going to help others. I think I don't know where your life's going to lead, but I can see in the future that people are going to look to you, and you're going to be able to share your experience with them.
Yeah.
So I really I admire that you're a young fella that's come up here and had to go.
Yeah.
You've been upfront and honest, and you spoke from the heart.
Yeah.
And you're a nice bloke. So it's great to see that there is light for you, and you can go on and have that good life that was always intended for you, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. Firstly, I'd like to thank Adele House, and I don't know if the drug court was here or not, but I'd like to thank them for giving me the chance. I'd like to thank you guys as well for having me on, and I'd like to thank really Major Andrew and Jeanette. They're beautiful people. That was a beautiful day that me and you, we got baptised together. That was a day that I won't forget. And I hope I can actually, I can achieve the life that I want to live. And I hope it's, drug free. And I hope, I can get my family out of addiction. Yeah.
And it's like that. You start getting a taste for what life with recovery is like, and you want to help all these other people. But I think at the moment, concentrating on yourself, get yourself strong, and like Jose mentioned earlier, the best way I think we can help people is lead by example and show them how it's worked for yourself.
Yeah. Like I just want to and there's so much more to life than just getting on it and getting into trouble, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't want to do it for yourself, like if you have kids or something, do it for your kids, you know what I mean? Like, it's so worth the couple months of, like, is it worth it? It's 110% worth it. And if you never used it, don't pick it up.
Yeah, it's not worth it, it really, it isn't. And like I said earlier, I've wasted a lot of time, and I'll never get back, but you're young and you can still make a go of your life. Before we wrap it up, I'm going to do some shout-outs one more time for the numbers that we can contact, and that's 1-800-NO-TO-ICE. That's 1-800-6686-423. The family support number is 0481 844 555. And the AAIC, Australian Anti-Ice Campaign Head Office, that's 0756 656063. Once again, they're looking for volunteers up at the Gold Coast, so if anyone's available, contact them for any volunteer work. Once again, thanks a lot, Jaden. It's been great, and I hope your family can see this, and you're going strong. So keep up the good work. Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you, Ben. And thanks, Jose.